Hi, welcome back to Post TV, live from NAB 2013. I'm Randy Altman.
And I'm Mark Loftus.
We're Post Magazine. And we're here with Grant Petty from Blackmagic, who never ceases to amaze us. He's always here sitting with us and showing us these cool new products. And he's here today with one of the newest, which is the Pocket Cinema camera. So I don't know if you can...
And by pocket, he means pocket.
Yeah.
He pulled it out of his pocket before.
He really did. So why don't you talk a little bit, some of the capabilities of the camera?
Well, it's a Super 16 digital film camera. So even though it's very tiny, it's a fraction of the size of the current camera. What we really wanted to do was get something much more portable. I mean, the current camera, the 2.5K camera that we have, it's small, but it kind of came bizarrely enough from filming my family with it. I wanted something a lot smaller we could carry around, and you can put that in a bag. Whereas the other camera, it's just a little bit big for using personally. Mm-hmm. But then you think there's a lot of other different situations that you could use a small camera in, and it really has the same quality as the current camera. The current camera is 2.5K, so it's sharper, sure. But this is pretty close, and it's the same dynamic range. It's a Super 16 sensor size, so it's exactly, if you put a Super 16 cine lens on here, it feels exactly the same as shooting on a Super 16 film. The dynamic range is the same, the picture looks pretty similar, less film grain, of course. But it's a micro four thirds lens, an active micro four thirds lens mount, so you can control the lens. That lets us use a lot cheaper lenses as well. Uh-huh. But then you put different adapters on. One of the guys in the booth has got a Nikon adapter on there, and he's got Nikon lenses. You can put cine lenses on there. You can put PL mounts, all kinds of different things. So it's quite flexible. But really, in some ways, it got kicked off by wanting something that we could take around personally, and you can get it into situations like that you couldn't normally take a larger camera. Because you can hide it. It looks like a still camera, even though it's not. It's got a nice big handle on the side. It's got a removable battery that comes out. It's got an SD card in there. We record ProRes 422HQ on there, so it's very high quality. We can also do a lossless RAW cinema DNG on those SD cards, on the faster SD cards as well.
And that's kind of why the Canon cameras became so popular, because the smaller form factor, high resolution, and so this could be the next generation of that.
I guess so. I mean, I think the big thing we tried to aim for was wide dynamic range. We wanted a film look. There's lots of video cameras out there, and obviously, we do DaVinci, and you're trying to color grade something where you're trying to bring the blacks up, and all you get is this black floor coming up. What you really want is a lot more detail below the black and a lot more detail above the white, and you get a much more cinematic look because you can really adjust the contrast and everything like that. You've got some control over the image. And in my day, back when I was a telecine engineer, which is unfortunately longer than I'd like to believe ago, people hated doing tape-to-tape grades because you had no control over anything. You moved the white down or the black up, and you just got this flat look, and there was no detail below the black, and there's nothing above the white. Mm-hmm. Create a cinema camera where you've got a lot of detail below black and more detail above white, which is how the way film reacts. So everybody used to love grading film. Everyone hated grading off tape. Well, every video camera records files that are exactly like videotape. They're just on a SD card or something instead. This is very different. It's not a video camera at all. It's a film camera. It's a digital film camera. Mm-hmm. So there's refrigeration of the sensor in there and everything.
We didn't talk price yet, did we?
It's $995. It's just under $1,000.
And how long till delivery?
It'll probably be July, we think, based on the tooling time. So yeah, July.
But you do have a couple of them in your booth.
Yeah, we have a bunch of them there.
So they're working cameras, not.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I mean, it's like everything. You'd love things to be faster, but there's tools to do metal work and rubbers and plastics and all kinds of things. I mean, this is mostly metal, but it's actually magnesium on the outside to keep it light. So it just takes time for some of these things.
Removable lens allows you
to
work
it is.
with.
This one doesn't come off. It's got a tamper thing for the show, but yeah, you can take that off, and it's active micro four thirds, so you can put anything on the front you like. And of course, the files come out and go into DaVinci. So the Cinema DNG RAW recording is a slightly compressed version of it, but it's mathematically lossless, so it's not changing the image at all. But that's not as common as the uncompressed version of DNG that we have in the current camera, but we're adding that to DaVinci 9 and obviously DaVinci 10 to support that. So it's part of the specification, so it's still an open file format. We're really big on using open file formats. I don't like proprietary stuff. Mm-hmm. We have multiple products that work together, but they should work because each product is great, not because we tie them together and force you to use different parts of that. A lot of guys with our cinema camera, they're using Photoshop to grade things and all kinds of stuff. So that's the whole thing that Blackmagic's about. You can do what you want to do, like what we've done with Resolve 10 this year.
Yeah, I was going to dive into the other new camera, and then we could go into Resolve. Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, this year we've got a whole Ultra HD workflow. We've been working with a couple of manufacturers for a while to do 6 gig SDI technology. Now there's been bit of chatter about people didn't want to go with 6 gig SDI because they want to do optical and stuff like that. But my feeling is that I can build a 6 gig SDI product, and most people can run it in SD and HD because the connections switch just like an SD and HD product does. So you don't have to run it in Ultra HD if you don't need to, but the product will just switch across. The SDI connectors run at 6 gig, and now you can run 6 gig through a single cable, Ultra HD. So it's awesome. And we've got a new production switcher on the booth, which is $2,000. It's got aux out and beautiful machine metal front panel and really nice design. The whole thing runs in Ultra HD. It's got media pools, stills, transitions, keys, everything running in Ultra HD. Even if you're just running in a standard def at $2,000 for that, is still an awesome value. But the problem is we've got this whole workflow, so we needed a camera to feed the pictures to it.
Right.
So we're like, well, we've got to do a 4K camera. We want to do 4K post-production, but we also wanted to do 4K live production as well. So we've got a new camera. It's got a big Super 35 sensor in it. It's a global shutter, so it's got some of the things people wanted from the camera that we have now, so we've kind of addressed some of those issues. It's $4,000. The camera is still obviously around for $3,000, but it doesn't quite have the dynamic range of the current camera, but it's really very wide. It's wider than a video camera dynamic range, so it's very nice, very filmy. The pictures on the booth look great, but the output is 6 gig SDI as well. So it can record a ProRes 4K file to the SSD inside. It's the same body as our current camera, so you can use all the same accessories. It's EF mount because you need a big lens mount for that big sensor. We can't do a Micro Four Thirds version of that, funny enough, because that sensor's bigger than a Micro Four Thirds lens mount. But it essentially looks the same as the current camera, but it records 4K on the disc, and it's got 6 gig SDI, so you can run Ultra HD out to the switches or to anything else. We've upgraded our HyperDeck Studio Pro product, our Decklink 4K Extreme product, and our Ultra Studio 4K capture and playback products as well. They're all doing 6 gig. They're shipping now with 6 gig. They have been for weeks. We've got some software updates coming to add that. So the whole workflow all works together. You've got recorders, capture playback devices, live production switches, the camera, and of course DaVinci hooks into that because you can record the file and grade in DaVinci, or you can do live into the switcher and do live production. Because my feeling is Ultra HD, I mean, it looks amazing. You can use it for live production. People got Ultra HD projectors in venues and giant LED screens. That's all there now. Live production's a great place for Ultra HD. But for me, it is the format of the future. But it looks amazing. There's two ways of getting lots of Ultra HD content: post-production and live production. We've got both covered with the entire ecosystem, so it's awesome.
Before we run out of time, I just want to make sure we touch on the new Resolve and then also talk about your technology relationship with Autodesk. Do you want to get into?
Yeah.
You pick. Which one?
Yeah. Well, the big thing about Resolve, of course, is it's a big release, Resolve 10. We've really focused heavily on the workflow. It's got new on-set tools. The big thing about Resolve, it's used on set, and it's used for onlining, and it's used for delivery. And so what we've done this year is we've really tried to complete that entire workflow. So we've got new on-set tools, we can do sound syncing, but we've got a thing called Resolve Live. A lot of guys are using Resolve on set to actually light the set. So the DOP and the colorist are working together. Sometimes the DOP and the colorist are the same guy, but they're actually placing lights on set and dressing the set and doing the color correction on it to see what that looks like. So now you can bring the video input from the camera straight into Resolve and actually grade on the live pictures. So it's just like the old DaVinci 2K could do. We've kind of put it back into Resolve. So you can save those grades, and then when the files come in from the camera, they get applied automatically. Wow. We've also done a complete rework of the editing in Resolve. It's much more powerful now. So you can bring projects in from other NLEs, you can edit in Resolve itself. So because our unique thing is we can render the final cinema delivery file from the raw camera files. So the NLE apps are 10-bit uncompressed, so you can do the edit on them, like Final Cut Pro 10, Avid, products like that. You can bring the project into Resolve and then online it from the original camera files. And you think about it, we can do now, obviously we've worked with the Easy DCP guys to do the digital cinema package rendering inside Resolve. If you buy that from them, it renders those cinema files. So if you render a cinema file and online in Resolve from the raw camera files, it's like you're actually assembling the negative and projecting it to every cinema. And you couldn't do that in film, but you can do it in Resolve because the first generation on the digital package file is from the raw camera files directly through the 32-bit float, YRGB color spaces in DaVinci or ACES color spaces, whatever you like. So it's a really high quality update. You can take projects back to Resolve, back to Final Cut, back to Avid. You can bring them in. You've got multiple people working on jobs. You're delivering different formats. It takes care of the whole thing. So we've really tried to, we joked and called it a donut plugin for Final Cut. It kind of plugs around Final Cut and does everything it needs to do movies and do the on-set side of things, and the same thing with Avid or Premiere Pro or any of these other products. So I think it's a massive update and it's really exciting, and I'm really happy that we can I feel like we've completed that workflow,
Is there an upgrade path or pricing on
It'll be a free update.
Free.
We've got recursive noise reduction, all sorts of other things in it. Those things are part of Resolve, the paid version. The editing, all those other features, and the onset stuff, that's all part of the Resolve Lite. So that'll actually be no charge at all.
Wow.
Amazing. Okay, so before we go, can you talk about the Autodesk? I guess it's a technology. How would you word it?
Yeah, we've been working with those guys because obviously, I'm an old post-production guy, so I've got a lot of respect for what they do. Known about them for a long time. They've been in there in that workflow for a long time. So, we're excited to work with them, and we've got some fantastic products. Like look at Ultra Studio 4K. It's a beautiful, Ultra HD, capture playback device. Now we want to make that work with, the new Autodesk products and their editing tools and things like that. So, Blackmagic's built itself from working with everybody. We've never been closed. We've got SDKs for everything. We've got, we originally did capture cards that worked with every other software application that existed, and it's fantastic to work with those guys to really add support for that. So we've been working towards that, and we hope to get something out really soon, but it's a really exciting collaboration. I'm really happy with how it's all going, and the product's awesome, and we've got some really good products on both sides, and when they come together, they're just, 1 + 1 = 5. It's fantastic.
Great.
Grant, thank you so much for coming. Good luck with all the new tools, and we're actually going to sign off for the day. So thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Randy Altman. It's Grant Petty from Blackmagic.
And I'm Mark Loftus. Stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow with more interviews from NAB 2013.
Yeah. Take care. Thanks.
Bye-bye.